Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, the leadership of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, colleagues and friends, thank you for being here with us this afternoon to focus on agriculture. We all know the importance of agriculture, and our keynote speaker will speak to it in some detail. I'm not going to say anything about the African Society right now. I'm going to respect the fact that our keynote speaker is on a certain time constraint, and I'm just going to introduce her very briefly so that she can come up and speak with us. And then afterwards, I will be able to tell you about the African Society and about our collaboration with the Constituency of Africa and the other organizations who are here today. And with that, I would like to introduce the Vice President for the Africa region, Obiageli Ezekwesili. She comes to the bank from Nigeria, where she was a Minister of Education. She's a dynamic African woman. She's the first African woman to be Vice President for the Africa region in the World Bank. And as we call her fondly in the Africa region and in the World Bank, Obi, we welcome you. Please. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I really have to thank every one of you that's come to this event. You know definitely that on a Thursday afternoon, not many people want to talk about agriculture in Africa. And so for those of you who really consider this a very important topic, I think that Africa owes you big time. Clearly, the African Society in the bank, in the Bretton Woods institutions, really would be a sense of the affirmation of the people of African origin, that they are in Washington but still very hugely connected to the continent. And I think that that demonstration of continuous engagement with the continent is really something that is to be lauded. Ordinarily, we find a tendency for people to get lost in the crowd. And when that doesn't happen, it is something that we should appreciate, because if there's any group within these institutions that should show a clear understanding of the issues and challenges that the continent out of which they've come from continue to battle with, it would be the people from the continent. And not in a parochial kind of way, but in a way that enables the institution to continuously draw from the pool of personal experiences and knowledge of the local environment within which these institutions have to operate. And so it is in that context that I really appreciate what the African Society is doing on the margins of the Congressional Black Caucus, sort of saying that during this period, when the Congressional Black Caucus, an elite group within the Congress, are focusing on the issues wider than just the African American community, but really talking about Africa and the diaspora at large, that this society is doing this. Coming down specifically to the subject matter of our discourse, agriculture is certainly essential for Africa's growth and for Africa's reduction of poverty. If there's one thing that we know about Africa today, is that Africa is no longer seen in terms of the homogeneity through which people, the lens of homogeneity through which people viewed the continent in the past. What Africa is showing is increasing diversity in terms of the capacity of Africa to take advantage of the nuggets of knowledge and the possibilities that exist in governance and to actually lead the process. In some instances, we've seen African countries that are leading the pace. In our recent, the very recent Doing Business report, Kenya and Ghana have come out as two top reforming countries in the Doing Business report. That clearly shows that at some level, Africa can also compete and come out excelling over and above others. We see at least some 17 countries in Africa today that are witness sustained growth of 5.5% in the last decade. We see another 8 of them, the 17 have 1/3 of the population of Africa in countries where they are growing on a sustained basis 5.5%. Some of the countries in that list or in that group of countries are countries that came out of really serious civil strife. And yet they have overcome this and moved from emergency mode to a mode of developmental direction. And that has paid off. We have another group, about 8 of them, that house another 1/3 of the population in Africa, very wealthy in terms of natural endowment. Those ones are growing at rates of at least 8% amongst them. But that kind of growth from just one activity can also be dysfunctional, and we've seen that happen over and over again with the whole economist's idea of the resource cost. But the important thing is that, unlike before, many of those countries are beginning to embrace the culture and tradition of good governance of the resources in the kind of way that transparency and effective use of the revenues from the resources would be an essential part of the development agenda for those countries. So if we can achieve that amongst those countries, we can see an Africa that will definitely be able to take advantage of its natural endowment for purposes of diversifying its economy and therefore spreading out possibilities of growth in all dimensions. And then another 1/3 belong to the countries that are low performers, low-performing countries, growing at below 3% and really struggling with growth. But in all of these, one thing is clear. Africa is not a basket case of countries that are not growing. The story is different. And it is this story that is different that we need to build on. We need to, as an institution, find out where our best competencies can be applied in partnership with Africa. And one of the areas that